Magnus, if you're watching, and I know you are, going to send you a nice fruit basket for the holidays because I don't really mean any harm by this. Okay, but anyway, Magnus is black, and can you believe he actually missed mate in 3 in this position? Today, I have a little something for everyone. From rating 500 to 5,000, age 5 to 500, wherever you land on the spectrum of chess player, you're going to find a nice little challenge today because we're going to start with checkmates in 1, and then we're going to get harder and harder and harder, and we're going to see how big we can make your brain today. Now, before you think, from Master Mike, I know how to checkmate. Well, let's just see about that, okay? Make sure you go all the way to the end because even I'm going to question my ability to checkmate by the end of this. Now, I've got a fun little surprise as we go through these checkmates. Most of the checkmates you're going to see today were missed by grandmasters, so it's kind of like we're playing a little game. Are you smarter than a grandmaster? Okay, now, in this starting position, black is a little bit worse, but not doing too badly. Black does have a knight and 2 pawns in exchange for the rook, and black is really eager to have this passed pawn be joined by another passed pawn. So black plays the move pawn to h4, thinking that this pawn is going to keep marching down the board, or in case of a trade, he's got a backup h-pawn that will march down the board. And, well, all that's a good thought, except, you know what? When you miss mate in 1. That's right. This is a game played between 2 grandmasters, and black totally missed the fact that white has checkmate in 1. Maybe you can find it. Pause your video if you need a little bit more time, because here comes the answer. Knight to e7, checkmate. The computer announces it in case you didn't already see it. First, the knight does a very clever job of checking the king and taking away the king's escape square. Now, the king does want to be a fighting piece in the endgame, but it shows you even with limited material, you do need to watch out for this danger. My guess is that if we can go back, black was only considering pawn to g4, but of course, that's not mate. The king can walk down the board, or he can go back in his home. Either way, I think black's blind spot was only considering that one check, or perhaps black saw this check with the king running away, but the knight going backward cuts off that square, and that's why black got the king checkmated. Okay, moving on to our next example. In this position, we had a very famous grandmaster miss mate in 2. I told you they were going to get a little bit more difficult. Now, you can kind of see that white is captured here on this square, and black, I think in the game, made the obvious recapture and just took back with one of these 2 pawns. At least I think that's what happened. But what I know happened is that black missed the mate in 2. Now, the question is, can you find checkmate in 2 moves for black in this position? Well, you probably noticed that this bishop is pinning the pawn. Now, if you thought bishop takes pawn would lead you to the promised land, well, when the king takes back, I don't actually see a checkmate. We kind of need both our queen and our bishop to get checkmate. And the checkmate, by now, you have probably found it because you are a ChessKid action hero. Queen takes h3. And by the way, that move was not possible on the previous move. I didn't show you this, but the pawn came from f5 and made a capture. So black could not have known that that diagonal was going to open up. Queen takes pawn, and this pawn, which looks like a killer for the queen. No, it is not a killer queen. Oh, music reference. The pawn is pinned, so the king has to move. And then, of course, we have the very simple queen and helper checkmate. And by the way, the guy that missed that mate in 2, yeah, he goes by the name Magnus Carlsen. And you know what? I don't mean for this to be pick on Magnus Hour, because the thing is, when you play 50,000 chess games in your life, some of these things are going to happen to you, even with short time controls. Okay, so Magnus, if you're watching, and I know you are, going to send you a nice fruit basket for the holidays because I don't really mean any harm by this. Okay, but anyway, Magnus is black, and can you believe he actually missed mate in 3 in this position? Yeah, he did. Now, technically, it's actually kind of mate in 4, but the general principle is mate in 3, okay? So if you write to us saying it's mate in 4, I'm going to think that you plug this position into a computer, and I don't want you to do that. I want you to use your brain. And by the way, more on the problems of computers later in this video. Okay, but anyway, mate in 3. You are going to improve on Magnus Carlsen's play. If you don't want to see the answer right away, go ahead and pause your video. Get yourself a slightly bigger snack because this one might take a little bit more time. Okay, if you're back, I hope your snack was yummy. And the answer is not knight to e3. That's what Magnus played. Of course, it's a very good move, forking the queen and the rook. He also did not move the rook even though it's in danger. He missed an amazing queen sacrifice. It's actually a little bit similar to what you just saw. He missed queen takes pawn.
Hello.
As unlikely as that looks. Now, this pawn is not pinned like that previous pawn, so the pawn, of course, is going to take. If you don't take and your king moves, well, guess what? If your king moves, very, very bad things are going to happen. For example, in this position, if you move your king in this position, then I can have knight to g3 check happen. And the bad news for you is that if you take this, then queen to h6 leads to a checkmate. And I guess that kind of is going to be mate in 4, queen check, and then the king moves, and then the queen checks. The thing is, though, there's all these kind of variations where you block with your queen just to slow down the checkmate, and I'm not really going to count that as a real chess move, okay? So anyway, let's go back. Let's go over the main line. That's what I want to go over, because when you sack your queen, of course, the main line is if the queen gets captured. So we're going to call this the main line. Okay, the pawn takes the queen. And now we've got 2 more moves to give checkmate. We did open up this diagonal, though. So bishop takes pawn and only 1 move for the white king. He's got to go to the square h1, and then knight to g3 is checkmate. A very cool checkmate, and the main line is a mate in 3. Although, you know, you kind of do have a good argument if you want to say, Fun Master Mike, it was kind of mate in 4. It kind of was, but the main line was mate in 3. Now, let's go back. If you're wondering, how could I possibly spot these opportunities in a real game? Well, you kind of have to go back to Fun Master Mike's advice. If it's a check or a capture, I demand that you look at it, and I also want you to look at it a little bit further than you might normally. Now, that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but what I really mean is, as unlikely of a sacrifice as this move is, because it's both a capture and it's check, you should at least look at it for a half a second. It's true, 99 times out of 100, you're not going to want to give away your queen for a pawn. But when you find that one exceptional case, you're going to want to play it on the chessboard. And if you do, well, you could be better than Magnus. Sorry, Magnus, I know that's the number 2 time we've picked on you. You're going to get a really large fruit basket. Let's go on and pick on one more grandmaster today. In this position, it's relatively equal. 2 very strong grandmasters are playing. And, well, we have kings castled on opposite sides. That seems to favor black, because black already has a half-open file, and black can maybe put more rooks on the b file later on, although this knight is being actually very, very annoying, isn't he? Okay, so black said, you know what? I'm not even going to wait to bring my rooks to the b file. I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice my bishop on b2. Now, spoiler alert, right? We have the double question mark glyph on the screen. Of course, black was hoping for this. Black was hoping for queen takes, but then the queen is overworked. She's not guarding the rook anymore, and black can at least take the rook and win material. The knight would be in danger, and of course, if the knight moves, then multiple rooks are coming to the b file, and well, all that would turn out great for black. But you know what black missed? In this position, black missed the fact that there's a mate in 4. And this one is legitimately mate in 4, okay? There's no alternate lines in this one. It is basically one legal move for each side. That's what we call a hint in the business. Okay, so go ahead and pause your video. Come back when you have found mate in 4, white defeating black. Okay, if you're back, hopefully you did not play pawn a4, because yes, both grandmasters missed it. Even white missed the checkmate, although it should be said that white did go on to win in only a couple of more moves. But when you're a grandmaster, you're expected to find mate in 4. And do you remember this checkmate called Anastasia's mate? Well, guess what? We're about to see it. If you've never seen it before, you get a little special surprise today. The knight goes to e7 check. And guess what? That is a very forcing move, because the king has one legal move. It's kind of nice when your opponent only has one move. And now, in this position, the queen takes the pawn on h7. Remember, when the kings are castled on opposite sides, you want to open up lines. Now, normally, we'd want to give away this pawn, so our rooks could go to the h file. But in this case, this rook is already ahead of the pawns, because now when the king takes, the rook is ahead and comes all the way over for a rook lift. And that would be checkmate in 3, except black in this position does have the desperate queen block, but then rook takes is an official Anastasia's mate. That's when a rook or a queen checks on the h-file, and the knight keeps the king glued there by guarding the squares on the g-file. Black has nothing left to block with. Black has no king moves. Black has no way to capture the rook. And guess what? Mate in 4. If you found it, great job. You did better than both grandmasters who played this game. I'm not going to name and shame this time, because you know what? I'm not going to be sending out any more fruit baskets, okay? Now comes our final fun problem. It's not actually our final problem, but our final fun problem, just to show you that you chess kids with your big organic brain that lives on Cheerios and probably something healthier than that, I hope, you are actually stronger than a computer, because in this position, it is mate in 10, and early versions of the best chess computer engines actually could not solve this. Imagine that. It is forced mate in 10. Computers have actually gotten stronger, and now they can solve this. But yeah, we just jumped from mate in 4 to mate in 10. Now, I'm not actually expecting you to go all the way through this. In fact, there's one hidden move that's really hard to find, but if you really want to challenge yourself, congratulations. I'm welcoming you to that challenge. Pause your video. You might want to get a big old dinner ahead of you, because this one might take a while. But I will give you the opportunity, and after you're done pausing, I'm going to come back with the answer. Okay, if you're back, I hope that entire pizza that you just ate was yummy. Here's the answer. Queen to g5 check.
Hello.
Now, technically, black does have 2 legal chess moves, but it's a little bit worse to go to the corner of the board, so I'm going to be playing the best lines for black. The king should probably go over to the square h7. Now, we're going to play knight to h5, and the problem for black is that he's facing multiple checkmates. First of all, queen to g7 is checkmate, and also, if the knight goes to f6 check, that will force your king to the corner, and if you could imagine the white queen then moving to h6, so imagine the white queen here, the white knight there, the black king in the corner, yes, that is in fact checkmate. And the only good way to stop both mates, gotta stop both, is for the knight to come back to f5. If you play a move like rook to g8, that guards this checkmate, but then I just play knight f6 check. Again, I force your king back, and queen h6 is mate. And in this particular position, you can even play queen takes rook. That would also be a checkmate. So let's go back. Let's give black the best defensive move possible. In this position, it's knight to f5. That knight guards the queen and helper checkmate, and it also guards that square, which is a very important square for the checkmate to be stopped. So white should play knight f6 anyway. We're on move number 3. Okay, the king has to go back to the square h8. Now in this position, that would be checkmate, but this really annoying knight is stopping us. And if we play queen to h5 check, then the king is able to move to g7, not quite a checkmate. Okay, here comes the really ridiculously hard move. Okay, white wants to play rook to g3, because if the rook and the queen team up, then there's like 10,000 checkmates. Queen h5 would be an eventual checkmate. You could even play queen to g8, sacrificing your queen for an Arabian mate, because if the rook took, and then the white rook on g3 takes back, that is the classic knight and rook Arabian mate. The problem is, if you play rook to g3, when the knight takes, it's check, and it kind of messes up the entire system. So, the really hard move, maybe the one that Stockfish didn't see years ago until Stockfish got better at chess, is this move, king to h2. Wow. How often do you see a quiet move with the king during a forced checkmate? Well, you saw it here, right? Now the knight simply has no check, and in this position, no matter what black does, black cannot save himself. Rook to g3 is coming, okay? Now, I'm going to give black the best defensive move possible, which is e5, okay? Now the queen can come over and take the knight if it needs to, even as a desperation move, and of course the bishop guards the knight. Believe it or not, that is black's best defensive move. Now, we play rook to g3 anyway, and as I mentioned, queen h5 is going to lead to checkmate once you put your knight in the way, and I capture that knight. Or I can play queen to g8, the very fancy queen sacrifice, rook takes queen, rook takes rook, and welcome to Arabia, because it is the Arabian mate. So the best try for black to just lengthen the game is to play queen takes knight, sacrificing the queen. Then we play queen takes queen. Now the king pretty much has to go to h7. I guess you could block with your knight, but I'll just play queen takes knight checkmate. So the king has to go to h7. Okay, by the way, we're on move 6, so we've got 4 more moves for mate, and we just play rook to g5. The rook up and over, actually kind of similar to Anastasia's mate. The rook is coming in front of the pawns, and you just can't stop the rook giving check and the king moving back, and a checkmate happening on h8. So black can literally play any move he wants. Let's just have black play e4. It doesn't really matter. Okay, now rook to h5 check. You can slightly slow me down by blocking with the knight. And now I could actually take with the queen or the rook, but I'm going to take with the rook. And when the king moves back, you can put either of your heavy pieces on this square for checkmate. You could also even play queen to g5 checkmate. But I kind of like the queen and the rook teaming up in this manner. And there we go. Mate in 10. Even computers were not able to solve it until recently. Now, just to show a little bit of modesty, a little bit of humility, okay, we've seen some examples where grandmasters have not seen checkmates coming, and even super strong chess computers. Well, now I'm going to put myself to the test. I'm going to give myself a mate in 1. Here we go. And you're thinking, well, Master Mike, mate in 1, how hard is that going to be? Well, guess what? It's going to be really hard, okay? I have a collection of puzzles that I have found that are incredibly difficult checkmates in 1, with pieces just kind of randomly placed on the board. It's like somebody had a bag of pieces and they just dumped them out on the board and they landed everywhere in irregular places. And yet I'm told that this is a mate in 1, and guess what? I don't know the answer, so I'm going to solve it with you in real time. The one thing I will say is it is important to know which way the pawns are going, okay? So it's only 2 pawns on the board, but the white pawns do begin on number 2. So this pawn is going up the board, okay? And the black pawn is going down the board. I don't know if that's important, but here we go. You're going to hear me talk about the answer in real time, okay? So let's just look at queen takes queen. Now, is queen takes queen checkmate? There are so many things in the board that I could very well make a mistake. Okay? I don't think that's checkmate because at the very least, this bishop can block and black can survive 1 move. And often there's just going to be 1 move for black to survive. Okay. Well, we're going to keep looking at checks. Bishop to there is check. Now the queen can't take because she's pinned. So that queen is actually not able to sacrifice. But you know what? If we move this bishop to give check, then the king can go to this square. Yeah, he's just barely surviving on that square. Okay, what else do we have? Well, this bishop could give check. That would keep this bishop guarding that square. But if we move this bishop, that opens up the rook to come back and block. Okay, so that is not going to work either. All right, I told you I was going to be humbled. It's checkmate in 1, but it's not easy. Okay, let's try knight check. I don't know if the king... Actually, you know what? The king can move here because our knight is blocking our queen. Also, this bishop's hanging out. The bishop could take the knight. That's not going to work. Now, this pawn could be key. The pawn could be important. I want to play pawn takes bishop, and I want it to promote to a knight, because I feel like something funny might be happening. That would actually be double check. The new knight would be checking the king, and the rook would be checking the king, which looks awesome. But I believe the king can actually step back to this square. I don't see anything guarding that square unless I'm missing something, okay? Now, we could take and promote to a queen. Hello. That would be discovered check. But this bishop, this guy way down here, could go all the way back and block the rook. Okay, I am running out of checks. This could take a while. I hope that you've brought breakfast, lunch, and dinner to this one. Okay, how about this knight checking? I don't know where else to go. I got to keep thinking about stuff. Oh, this bishop could take the knight. The bishop's hanging out. Okay, I'm officially humbled. Congratulations, universe. I am humbled. Did we look at this check with the queen? Now, if I play that queen check, remember, your pawn's going down the board. Your pawn can't help. Your queen cannot block because the rook would still be lined up with the king. Okay, let's get rid of those arrows and just put this on the board. So queen a3, sorry. I'm getting all confused with this one. Okay, this queen cannot block. Remember, the rook would be lined up with the king if the queen blocked on one of these 2 squares. Let's get rid of the arrows, put this arrow back on the board. I don't see where the black king moves. We're going through our progressions here, okay? Remember CPR, capture, protect, run away. I'm trying run away first. I don't see anywhere that the black king can move. He can't go there because of the queen. He can't go there because of the pawn. It's going that way. He can't go there because of the bishop. And also, our queen is on this diagonal. He can't go there because of the rook. He can't go there from like multiple pieces. Can't go there or there because of the queen. Can't go there because of the bishop and the knight. So he can't run away. Can he protect? That basically means block. If I go there, we've already said this queen can't help. Nothing else can help. And he can't capture because the black pawn's going down the board. Ladies, gentlemen, chess kids of all ages, I believe we have found it. Okay? This is funny. Never in my life have I been unsure about mate in 1. I'm going to put the queen here. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to hope the computer announces checkmate, and it does. Okay, we officially solved one of the world's hardest checkmate in 1 puzzles, but I hope now you have an appreciation for how difficult checkmate can be sometimes to find. Remember, in those Grandmaster games, they didn't even know it existed, which is, of course, what makes it tricky. You have to always believe that there could be a checkmate, and I want you analyzing checks and captures every turn to make sure that if there is a mate, you can find it, and I hope you've appreciated our trip down checkmate difficulty lane.